right, so this is the video tutorial for the week 1 fixed width HTML lab. So basically the very first assignment of the web design class. All right. Okay. So first thing you want to do is just go ahead, and you should have already installed Microsoft Visual Studio Code. You just want to go ahead and open it up. It might give you a bunch of all this business. I don't need any of that. I'm just going to close that out. Good, and whatever, go away. There's always a newer version out there. Okay, so plenty of programs in the C. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start the creme fraiche. So you're going to do File. We're going to do a new file. And boom. It's going to start off, and it's just basically just plain old text, nothing too special. Okay, so first thing I need to do is tell this that this is an HTML5 document. So we're just going to go boom. And then this is basically doc type HTML. And that just lets it know that that's the type of HTML. So there's HTML4, and there's like 4 point and a whole bunch of other ones in HTML3, 2 or whatever. But basically everything's, HTML5 is now like the standard, so that's what we should be making anyway. Next, what we need to do is let it know when the HTML code itself is actually starting. This isn't going to be as big of a thing right now, but web pages use a whole lot of different codes, languages in order to create what you see on the web. HTML is just the most basic one. It handles the content. So it's possible to actually write all sorts of code, like different languages, all in one text document, which obviously would be confusing. So this just lets it know that when the web browser does read it, this is the HTML. So we're just going to go HTML. And then that says when it starts, and we're going to go ahead and do the closing tag. And we'll do HTML, like so. Okay, so this is when it's going to start, and this is when it's going to end, and that's just how that goes. All right, so it's always a good idea that when you write the opening tag, to go ahead and write the closing tag. So we have HTML. The next thing is basically the 2 sections. So we have 2 primary sections inside of our HTML document, and the first one is head. Let me go ahead and head. And if you remember, basically what this is going to do, it's not stuff that you really see on the web page. It's more information about the document that the browser would read or a search engine would read. But it's not something that the user is actually going to view. And then the other thing that we need is the body. So body. All right. And body. Okay. So we have our basic, pretty much anytime that you start the document, you're always going to write this. This is always going to be the start of whatever it is, at least for HTML. So that looks pretty good. But you'll notice that obviously it's not color-coded. And the reason why it's not color-coded is because we just opened up a plain text file. So as far as Visual Studio Code, it doesn't know what it is. So the easiest way to kind of let it know is just to go ahead and save it. Before I go to save it, though, I need a place to save it to. I like to save to the desktop because that way, you can see it looks nice and clean right now. But if you would have been here like before, I actually have 3 monitors, and all of this, there were icons all the way bleeding into my other monitor because the whole thing was full. But I like to put it on the desktop just because that way I see where it is and I'm reminded about it. And then when I'm done, I put it somewhere else. So generally speaking, it's not a terrible way of working. You might want to have another folder somewhere that you keep, your files or homework or something like that. But I like to keep it on the desktop as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the desktop because it's easy for our purposes. So I'm just going to make a folder that's going to hold this. So I'm just going to right click and we're going to go new folder. Obviously for Mac, do what Macs do. And we're going to start with our last name. So my last name is Cone. Your last name is, okay, I'm doing like a Dora the Explorer thing here. If you see Swiper, let me know. So your last name, and then what we're going to do is week 01 lab. Oops, lab. Okay. Now what I want you to notice is this. I start with lowercase. The first word is lowercase. This is called camel case, by the way. This way of writing. First word is all lowercase. Then the second word we start with a capital letter, and then normal writing it. And then the third word, again, a capital letter, but then lowercase. And so the idea is that if you can write a whole sentence with no spaces, if you capitalize every word the first letter of every word. You don't even need it. So it's a good idea. Get in the habit of not putting spaces in your names and files and stuff, because when you write code, every time there's a space, it thinks it's separate things. It'll treat them as separate entities. So if it's meant to be one thing, you gotta squish it together. So you either put camel case or use underscores, and you can kind of determine how you want to do it. But anyway, so it should be the last name, week 1, lab. Boom, enter, good. So that's where we're gonna save it, and you'll see why that's important later. Okay, so now we can do, as I click back on my thing here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and save it. So you can hit Control-Shift-S or Command-Shift-S, or you can just do File, Save As. And I'm going to go to my desktop, and let's see, Cone Week 1 Lab. All right, so I go to that folder, and then what I'm going to name this is this. Home pages are always called index. So index, and then we're going to say .html. We're going to put the extension in there. So if you're familiar with that, but like there's image files like .jpg or JPEGs, or .exe if it's an executable, or .app, I think if it's on a Mac. But we're just going to go ahead and write the extension into it, and then hit enter, and then you're going to notice, now it's color coded. So much more improved. Okay, so we've got that going on there. So let's go ahead and fill in our head first. There's really not a lot to do at the moment, because we're not doing anything fancy with this web page. It's just going to be kind of what it is. So what we do need is a title. So I'm going to go ahead and put my title here. So I'm going to do title. And you're going to notice, once you actually save it and it knows the languages, it will actually self-complete for you, which is pretty sweet. Now, if you're not using Microsoft Visual Studio, you can use a different one. I'm just using that because I like this one, but you can use whatever. If you're a programming person, use whatever your favorite thing is. And if you have a really cool one, let me know. I'll take a gander upon it. You're just going to copy what I write exactly. So I'm just going to do my bio for this, but you're going to, in the future, do your own. Okay, so we're just going to say Cone's bio, and we'll do biography. Right? Let's not cheapen it. Okay, so that will be the title, and then we're just going to put some metadata in here. So we're just going to go meta, name equals, and then we're going to say the description. So meta, if you remember, basically what that means is that it's extra information about the web page. Again, the user doesn't see it in any way. Just the web page will. And later on, this might become a little bit more important, but basically the web page or search engines, they will read that and know what that means. You can put in whatever you want up in this, but you can actually, there are certain ones that are kind of standard. And one that's standard is to write name, and then you write, it's kind of like making a variable. You write like what the variable name is, and then you're going to write like what's going in that variable. So the next one is content equals, and then I'm going to say like, biography about John Cone, right? And then when I finish it, we just go like this and that, okay? So basically we're saying, okay, I'm going to make a thing that's it's going to be of a description, and the description that's going, the content of it is biography about John Cone. So the idea is that maybe the search engine would recognize that, and then someone's looking up me, it'll know. It's not going to have much value right at the moment. Now another thing to recognize is that you'll notice that most of the tags that we've been writing, these are tags, right? They have an opening and closing tag. Right, so title has an opening and closing. The reason why they have opening and closing is because they're wrapping around the content. So in this case, my content is Cone's biography, and I'm saying treat that, the things that are between these two, treat it as the title. This is not the case because I'm not wrapping around anything. I'm just saying something. You know what I mean? It is the content. It is the one that knocks. Okay, so there's nothing to wrap here. It's the same thing with this up here. This isn't really wrapping around anything. This is just making a statement. This, on the other hand, is wrapping around the entirety of what's inside of it, saying all of this is HTML. Okay, that's why it's a markup language, and that's all we got to really do for the head. Another thing I want to also note is that make sure that you're tabbing. Notice I hit tab. The reason why I want to do that is because that way I know that these two things are inside of this. It doesn't actually have any effect. If there was no tab in there, it would totally read the same. The computer doesn't know the difference. But it's easier for you and I to read. And it's one of those things, if you don't do, I'm going to be angry. Because it's just frustrating and annoying. So make sure you hit tab on those. Technically speaking, these should all be tabs too, right? Like this it should look like, because the head obviously is inside of this, and the body is too. But then it gets like, you get tabs so many over. So I don't do it for these. I just do it inside. Okay. So when I'm inside the body, I'm going to hit tab. And we're going to start working on this. Okay. So as it stands right now, we have a title and we have a meta. And that stuff is not the stuff that we see. You actually can see the title, but go back to that. So anyway, the body is the actual content. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is, usually your main title is just going to be an H1. So I'm just going to go boom, H1, boom, and it automatically closes it for me. And then I'm just going to put my title, and I'm just going to write cone, right? Looks like share. Okay. Good. And then what I'm going to do is make like a subtitle here. So let's do, so we can go all the way from H1, that's the top heading, it's usually the largest, it's first and foremost, all the way to H6. Okay, so let's do an H6, and we'll just say the man, and we'll just keep it lowercase, the man, the myth, the primitive shape. Seems accurate. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have that be like, my title on the top. And then I want to somehow separate that from everything else. So I think the best way to do that is I'm going to use a horizontal rule. We're only writing HTML, and HTML is just meant as the content. The design is done using CSS, which we will cover in a couple of weeks. So we don't have really a lot to work with as far as like trying to format it to look not terrible. This is going to look like a 90s page, which some of you guys probably weren't even born, but so we're just going to go ahead and do what we can. So I'm going to use a horizontal rule. So HR, base, boom, boom. Again, this is what we call an open element, just like this was, because this is just the thing. So a horizontal rule, if you remember, it's going to draw a straight line, just straight across. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate this a little bit more by doing a break. So we're going to go BR, boom, boom. So what a break does is a break will basically it will put an extra space. It's almost like hitting enter. So like instead of the next element starting in the next line, it's almost like we said enter, and then so there'll be a gap basically. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm thinking I'm going to do like the title, and then I'll do like the past, the present, and the future. So like 3 paragraphs. So I'm going to do my past one here. So we'll just say, we'll do an H2. Oops, not H2, because this will be my like subheading. And we'll just say, in the beginning. We'll do ... Really build suspense. All right. Then after that, I'm going to need a P. I'm going to do my paragraph. Okay. So P is for paragraph. I don't want to make you sit here and type this all up with me. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use a cheat. And you could just do this as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the interwebs here. As soon as it pops up. Okay. And we're going to type in ipsum.com. So there's a thing called Lorem ipsum. You can read about it here. I honestly didn't read about it. I just know how it works. It's built into a bunch of things. But the idea is it creates dummy text. There is some sort of like science and math or something. I think it might actually mean stuff. I don't know. But what it does is it just makes dummy text for you. Instead of us having to go blah, 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 or type something out, this will just, it's placeholder text. We use it quite a bit just because that way I can design my web page without not yet having the content. So imagine that you're a web designer and you're making like a restaurant website. You can start making the website, but you might not have like the info about the owner, right? I mean, they want to have like an about section. Well, if you don't have the info about her, you could still put in dummy text just as a placeholder, and then when she gives it to you, you can put that in. But that way, like, it takes up space. Okay, so Now what you can do is you can generate, I'll just leave it at 5 and hit generate lorem ipsum, and then it's going to go bloop, and then you have a bunch right here. And then you just choose your favorite one. I'm just going to grab this guy here, and I'm just click and drag, and then Control C or Command C, which is just copy. You can also right click and copy, whatever. It's good to use hotkeys though. And then inside of my P, I'm just going to hit Control V or Command V or right click paste. Now you're going to notice it's going wee all the way home, which is kind of lame. So the reason why is that it's not doing what's called word wrapping or text wrapping. If you go up to View, you can go to Toggle Word Wrap, and then what it'll do is it'll keep it in those spaces. Another thing I'm going to do actually, which I should have done from the beginning, is if I hit Control plus or minus, that will change the size of the code. This works actually in most programs. Like if you're in a website, if you don't already know this, Control plus and minus, or Command plus and minus, will actually zoom in the web page. So if you're having a hard time reading it, the text is too small or too big, that's the hotkey. Okay, so now I got my dummy text in there. That's looking all fine and dandy. Why don't we check to see what we have so far, make sure everything looks good. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit Control S, or you can do File Save. And then I'm going to go to my web page, and let's turn that off. And I'm just going to go here, and then you're going to see that it actually looks like whatever your default web browser, that's what it's going to look like. So now if I double click on it, if I can double click quick enough, it's going to come over here. You're going to see, whee, you can see all of our stuff is right there. Isn't that like so great? And basically everything we wrote is in there. It looks fine and dandy. Also notice that the title, which was this part right here, Cohen's biography, it actually does show up because it shows up as the tab title. Okay, so it does actually kind of show up, even though I said like things in there don't show up. So that's fine. All right, so close that out. Now let's say you're lame and you like, oh no, I closed out of it, and all I have now is it right here, and I can't get into it, right? Because that could possibly happen. All you have to do is just right click on it and just do open with, and then go, if yours is already shown up here, you can go in there, or you can click choose another app. If that doesn't work, you could also just open up Visual Studio Code and open up another one of these. You can open up Visual Studio Code and then close out of that. I don't need this every time. And then just open it up here. So you can probably open recent. It's not even, that's stupid. Or you can navigate to it. So make sure I got the open, and boom, there it is. Okay, so you won't be able to double click on it if you're trying to adjust it, because it's an HTML document, so it's meant to open up in a web browser. Okay. So good. So now we've got. I got to redo that. View. Okay. So now we've got our beginning section. So let's go ahead and add another bit here. So we're just going to do another H2. And let's see. Okay. And so this will be my present section. So we're just going to say presently coding this page. All right. And then I just need another dummy one. So instead of, I'm just going to grab this whole chunk here, and I'm just going to Control C for copy, or right click copy, and then Control V for paste. Good, I got my dummy text. I would also like to make a big gap between these two. So after this P, I'm just going to go ahead and do another break. So I'm going to do BR like that. Again, that's an open element, so it's the HR. All right, and then we'll go ahead and put one here as well. So BR. There we go, and then we'll do the next one. So H2. And then, all right, so we're going to say his future. Capital there. Oops, not future. His future. And again, I'm just going to paste that. I already have it copied, so I'm just going to Control V to paste it. And then I'm just going to add a little thing here. So I'm just going to do H4. And we're just going to say he has none. So it's my future. That's the joke. Okay, so all that matters is I make myself laugh. So here we go. The next is we're going to do another break. So I'm going to be just because I want a gap again. And then I'm just going to add this last little bit here, and we're just going to do an H3. I'm just using all of my headings that are there. I think the only one I didn't use was an H5. And we're just going to say things he dislikes. Because I concentrate on the negative. I could have done things he likes, but I went with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an unordered list. Okay, so unordered list is a UL. Ordered list is an OL. The difference is unordered list is bullet points, right? It's dots. There's no numbering. And then the ordered list will, by default, have 1, 2, 3. You can also change that with CSS. We'll learn about that later on, but you can make it like ABC, Roman numerals, or things like that. But unordered list, by default, is, I think they call it disks. But basically, it's a little round bullet points. Again, you can change that to like squares or images or whatever. Excuse me. Okay, so things he dislikes. So things I dislike are cats. I know some of you guys are cat people, but let's be honest. If your cat was the size of your dog, you can hear my dog because she's terrible. I hate you, JD. It would eat you. That's true. That's a true statement, and you know it's true. So it's kind of a bad pet. That's all I'm saying. And they don't do anything but sit there and meow and be like, feed me. Okay, so cats I hate. Oh, this one's another one I hate. Vehicles that go vroom. Oops, not vroom. Vroom. So you're gonna notice when I do these video tutorials that once in a while you heard like a brrr going down the road, and I just feel really sorry for those people because obviously they have really small self-esteem. So it's just annoying because I hear it and it interrupts my stuff. And I ride a motorcycle, and I rev a little bit, but I don't, like, you know what I mean? I don't have any confidence, but I don't need to, like, compensate. Okay. So another one is going to be bug meat. I don't eat seafood, and I don't eat bugs. I know, like, the state food of Maryland, apparently it's blue crab, and it is, like, living in Mordor here. I hate it. I'm from Buffalo. We had buffalo wings. Way better. So, just saying. All right. And now you know a little bit about me. Things you probably dislike. Okay, so that's pretty good. Now, we've done most of the things that were required, but we do need to add a couple of other things. So we're supposed to add some semantic and formatting tags, like the general ones that basically make things bold or make things, italicized or things like that, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and throw these in a couple. So I'm just going to put one right here because I don't really care. But we're just going to do this, strong, which is going to make it look bold. So there's strong. Now it auto-completes it, which is probably kind of annoying for you. So for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and delete it. And then I'm just going to go over here a couple, say here. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put the backslash. And you'll see when you put the backslash, or forward slash, sorry, it will auto-complete it for you, which is pretty cool. All right, and then I'm just going to go down here, and I'm just going to put an emphasis. So do EM. Now again, it's going to auto-complete it, but let me show you another way of doing this. I can highlight it, click and drag over it like so, and then middle mouse button, so like your wheelie ball or wherever you have, click and drag and drop. And that will actually drag it and plop it where you have it. Or you can, Control X, click in here, Control V. It's a little bit easier than rewriting the whole thing. Okay? So then we save this, Control S, or File Save. Okay. Let's go over here. Let's just check our workout. And it shows up over here. All right. And wow, it's so amazing. It's like the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. Okay. So we've hit all the things that we want to do in the lab. So now what I want to do is I want to submit this. So I'm just going to show you how to submit it. Real quickly. If you're already not submitted, you can just stop the video and go to the next thing. Okay, so what I need to do is this. So we're going to close out of this guy, and I'm going to close out of this, and here we go. So I have it here. So what you need to do first is open up Blackboard. So I'm going to go over here. Actually, let me log in over here. So it's cecil.blackboard.com. So it's this right here, cecil.blackboard.com. Okay, you're gonna log into that, and then go to your courses. Go to this course. You can see I have a couple. Where are you? Web design 220. That's not the one. Right here. Click on your course. So this is web design 1. Now you can do this one of two ways. You can go on to the week, and then you'll see it has all the stuff you need to do. But you'll see here is fix with lab. You can click on that because we're on that week anyway, and that will bring you here. Or you can just click on assignments, and all the assignments are also posted there. So you click that, and then there it is. Okay. Now to submit it, all you're going to do is you're going to click on this. I would suggest whenever you do any assignment, that's not just this class, do all of them. Just click on the thing and look at the rubric, make sure I did this stuff, right? It seems kind of obvious. I don't know why I'm doing a Scooby thing. And then it's going to ask to attach files. Now this is the issue. If you try to attach a file, it's going to, and it will work for this week, but it will not work later on. You could just attach this HTML and blah, 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 okay? But later on, you're going to see our websites are made of a variety, a whole slew of documents. And if you just give me all the documents, it won't work because they're meant to be connected to each other. So I need you to take the master folder. So like this is my master folder, and all of my web page documents be in there. And you take that and zip it. So to do it, you right click over top of it, and you go send to compressed zip folder. Now if you're on a Mac, and then just hit enter, it's fine. If you're on a Mac, it's going to be right click. What is it? I think it's compress or something like that. Something like that. It's actually a little bit easier. It makes more sense. And that will also zip it. So it's basically the same thing. So this is what you're going to submit, is a zip file. Because then what I can do is I can unzip it, and everything will be, you see there's the folder, everything will be in the correct structure. So you need to make sure every week that you're zipping this, okay? So back to this. So then you're just going to write browse my computer. Browse your computer, grab that folder or that file. So cone week, blah, 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 open. And then if you want to write anything about it, like, oh, I don't know, something, I hate you, I think you need a haircut, that kind of stuff. And then you just click submit, and you're good. And that's how you will submit your assignment. And that is basically it. So literally what you want to do is just copy what I did pretty much exactly, and then, zip it like I did, and send it, and boom, you're done, okay? And the other thing you need to do, obviously, is the discussion board. All right, so good luck to you guys.